the topic for this particular session is what if I want to Japa? What if I want to leave? Japa is acronym for Living Nigeria. That's what we that's the lingua for it. I hope, okay, how many people do we have here? 16. Okay. Just a brief background of myself, apart from all these plenty things already. My name is Olubusola. I work with Citibank as a compliance analyst currently. So I typically do fraud investigation, forensic, and everything the likes of it. So let me put a disclaimer, given the topic I'm talking about. I'm talking about what if I want to Japa. I am not Japaing yet, but that is personal preference. So I just want to put a disclaimer. Before someone will ask me that, why am I talking about what if I want to Japa when I am in Nigeria? So that's just a disclaimer. So yeah, I would go into it. So but at the same time, I have a lot of people, I have friends, I have family, a lot of people that have basically gone through the process together for immigration and all of that. So I'll start with the two major pathways. So for fresh graduates, and beginners, let me say beginners, first 2-3 years of your career or fresh out of school, they're basically we can look at two parts basically that are helpful: the immigration pathway and then the study abroad pathway. Those are let me see if I can. Please, let me try to share from this Zoom. This is the Zoom I use every time for work, but it decided that today it will not be normal. So there seems not to be much I can do. I'm just trying to see if I can even share, if it will even allow me to share. Apparently I cannot, so I will have to continue. I'm so sorry. Maybe I can just share, send the slide later, just in an email or something, or drop it on the link. So currently, I hope that's fine though.
Yes, that's fine. Very
okay,
fine.
okay.
That's fine.
Alternatively, Yami, can you drop your email address on the group chat?
Okay,
so
for
that
me
she
to
sent
send
it
it as an email. Okay, so for people to follow.
Just
yes, that works. Sure. Can you just call it out?
Okay, yeah.
Okay. Please, I like responsive people. Sometimes I don't like to feel like I'm talking to myself. So if anybody wants to pop in or say anything, it's preferable. That way I don't feel like I'm just saying plenty things without anybody understanding. Okay. So for the immigration pathway, for now that I know that I'm aware of, there are like two major countries that actually offer immigration pathway, like that are planned immigration pathway, not for study or anything. That's majorly Canada and Australia. So apart from Canada and Australia, though, almost every country in the world has, some particular kind of visa for if you get a job from your country. For example, if I happen to get a job in maybe Amsterdam now from Nigeria, there's a visa category for that. That's typically a lot of countries. But for Canada and Australia, they have structured pathways for immigration. So for Canada, we have the major prominent ones. We have the Federal Skilled Workers Program, we have Atlantic Immigration Program, and we have the Provincial Nominee Program. If you know people that have traveled to Canada in recent years, it's most likely with the Federal Skilled Workers Program. That's the most prominent one. That's the one where you have people writing IELTS, doing West evaluation, what's it called? Doing work experience, evaluation, and all of that. But a stop was put to it in 2020 when COVID came around. But it was announced recently, though, that they will be starting again in July 2022. That's the one that they use a particular score point for, that you have to get a particular score out of the total score to be eligible for them to be able to invite you for application. Then the Atlantic Immigration Program too that one is for particular provinces in Canada. And then the same thing with the Provincial Nominee Program. Also for Australia, the Skilled Immigration Program is for immigration pathway is better for people that are already in the workforce, because they usually require some sort of work experience, at least 2 to 3 years in the minimum, because they want to be sure that you will not just come to their country and be a liability. So they actually want you to have at least some sort of experience for you to actually meet up with. And they're also for some of them tend to be for maybe particular career lines that they are looking for in that particular country. So then for the UK has it's new, not too new, but recently. So it's for people in tech. They call it global talent visa, tech nation visa. So for people that have particular tech skills in maybe developer, front end, UI, UX, and all of that. If you're able to get a job in the UK from Nigeria, there is a visa section that actually covers it, that allows you to migrate to the UK. But the major one I really want to touch on, because I was made to understand that a lot of us on this group are actually beginners. Am I correct?
Yes.
Beginners in the workforce. Okay, so I would say the study pathway is still the easiest for as far as I'm concerned anyway. I think that's the easiest for migration at any day, anytime. It's the easiest and it's the most straightforward one. So for study, different countries though, you can check the US, you can check the UK, Europe, Australia, but each of these countries though, they have their peculiarities. For UK, for example now, I would say generally, UK is the easiest to get into, especially if you have your money. If you have the money for school fees, UK universities are the easiest to get into. US, I can't say the exact same thing. They are more rigorous in the application processes. Then for Europe is also easy to get into, but the only limitation I've heard a lot of people report with Europe is the language barrier. So it becomes difficult to fit into the workforce post-graduation because you are almost always expected to know the language. And you can't just learn Dutch in 1 year or learn Spanish or anything like that in 1 year for you to know it enough to be able to work with it. That's why you see a lot of people flooding English-speaking countries, not because Europe is not good or anything, but the language barrier there is actually a major impediment. If it's not something you're prepared and ready to learn, you might go there all the way and have to now look for a way to change countries. And we know that a lot of people traveling out for school, the reason is so that they won't come back to Nigeria. So it can become frustrating if you travel and then you now cannot even stay there again. So yeah. So I would say that can you imagine? Please, my light has gone. They've taken power. Anyways, that's Nigeria. That's part of why we're saying people should Japa.
That's why we must leave.
Exactly. So I'll say that the different factors to consider when considering schooling abroad. Yeah, I'll start with the cost of attendance. So when you want to, choose a school, first of all, this entire process, research is very, very important. Information, I always tell anybody that cares to listen, information is so powerful. You can save a lot of costs. You can make a lot of decisions just by the amount of information you have access to. And trust me, everything is online. Everything. I have done a lot of things back to, beginning to end without anybody, just by virtue of just typing on Google. And it's literally a free resource. So if this is something you want to embark on, you need to actually be ready to take your time and do the work. You need to research a lot. But I'll start with the cost of attendance. So for cost of attendance, you need to consider the processing fees, the tuition, the cost of living. There are some countries, I would say, for example, maybe somewhere like Switzerland, you can, or maybe Norway, for example. Norway has free tuition, yeah? Poland has free, and Finland has free tuition. But what they would not tell you is that the cost of living that you need to live in Norway, to live in Finland, will probably cover your tuition for UK. That's how expensive it is to live there. So they will tell you there is free tuition. You will go ahead and apply, but you would not know that you still need probably more money than you even need to actually survive in the UK with tuition. So that's part of the things you need to know. You need to consider the living cost, not just tuition, the cost of living. You need to consider the tuition fees, the other costs that has health insurance, other costs that has to do with it. And then the processing fees. Some schools are free for application, while some are not free. A lot of US universities are not free. The application is not free. But for UK, quite a number of it are actually free. So you actually have to consider that and you have to look at all of these vis-a-vis what you have at hand, what you're planning and what your expectations are. Also, you need to consider the entry requirement. So okay, let me start with the grade now. If you have a first class, let me start with that, for example. If you have a first class degree, any degree or anything, you might find it easier to get some certain kind of scholarships. That's just basic. So entry requirement, you need to check the schools you're applying to. Do they recognize a 2-2? Do they recognize a third class? Some schools will take a 2-2, they would not take a third class. So for situations like that, you can go for a postgraduate diploma, still outside the country, then you can convert it into a master's degree. So, but all of this, you would not, they are peculiar to different schools. So you won't know if you actually don't take your time and reach out to these schools. So that's why I said information is important. You have to research, you have to take your time, you have to research and reach out. They are not like Nigerian universities that are non-responsive. If you go to maybe for example, you go to a US university website now, and you get the contact of the admissions director, I can assure you when you call the person is going to pick up. And you ask a question, they're going to answer. If you're not careful, they would even be the one to start stalking you, and you'll be like, I'm not ready, leave me alone. Because they would follow up. They will follow up so much, you would almost want to tell them not to call you again. They are that interested in actually having you with them. So you have to also look at, do they have proficiency exams? If you are going to the UK, you cannot avoid IELTS. You can't. UK is a British country, you would write IELTS. For the US, it's rare. US mostly recognizes the fact that you did your undergraduate in the English-speaking country. So they mostly recognize it as a proficiency of English language, some sort of. So they would most likely not ask for it. Canada, you will do your IELTS. Also for Canada, you most likely cannot avoid your, your WES. Now for Australia, which is also another country in the mix, the reason why I'm not really, I'm not touching too much on Australia because Australia can be very, very, in terms of work opportunities, it can be very closed. So even some people, you see people that go there for university still trying to leave to go back to the UK, to go back to the US. It can be quite close, and it can be also quite, should I say, biased in a way. Let me put it that way. They can be quite biased to, especially Black people. They have a reputation for serious racism over there. So Nigerians don't like to go there if it's not like a last option kind of thing. So that's just so, but all of this does not mean they are not Nigerians living there or anything, obviously. It's just based on the general peculiarity of that, that particular country. So also I'll talk about the marketability of the course of study. This is like, I would say, one of the most important things. You don't want to leave Nigeria. No offense, I would like to talk about is the marketability of the course of study. Okay, is the network okay now? Is it fine?
Yes, it's fine.
Okay. So the marketability of the course of study. So I was saying that it's very, very important for you to actually consider that. You don't want to travel all the way, spend tuition, spend processing fees, for you to study a course that when you are done with it, you are still going to struggle to get a job after going through all the stress of relocating. It's not just about the next available course. It's not just for you to go to the website and just pick international something, pick something. You actually have to do the research and find out where to, what is the prospect of this particular course. People that study this particular course in this country, where do they work? In fact, you can go a step further and actually just go to maybe Indeed.com, all these job websites, and search for jobs with that kind of degree, just to see how marketable it is, how highly in demand they are. There are courses that you would struggle to actually just get a placement. So it's important to actually put that into consideration. Also, I always advise that if you can, go for a program that offers internship, even if it is just 1 month internship. Go for a program that has a space for internship. It makes it way, way easier to get into the job market outside the country. If you go for a program that during the period, you've already done internship of some sort, So it makes it easier after graduation to actually ease into the workforce. So the next thing is also possibility of work and study. If you're not, not everybody has the particular amount, or the amount they want to spend at hand at a particular time, as everything rather. So that also comes into consideration. For example, the UK, you can work and study in the UK. I think about 20 hours per week or something, you can work and study in the UK. Whereas in the US, you can only work within campus. So if you don't have a graduate assistant job or graduate research job in the US, you can't work. You are not allowed to work outside campus in the US. Canada, you can also work and study. So you have to consider all of this when trying to pick where. Do you have all the money you need? Do you have family support, or do you have savings enough to cover your living expenses for the entire duration? Or would you need to work and supplement it? That would also determine the country that you're going to pick. Then, okay, so the next thing is also possibility of migrating with spouses and children for people that have spouses and children. The same thing applies. This is kind of the same dynamic. So all these countries, you can actually travel with your spouse and children, but the only difference is that for the US, your spouse is not allowed to work. Your spouse is regarded as a dependent. Good. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
I said, so in actual fact, in the US, you are expected to actually have a particular amount that is considered the amount that it will be enough for your family to actually live on. You're expected to have it with you when traveling with your husband or your wife and your children. So your spouse cannot work. In the UK, on the other hand, your spouse can work. Why you are, so all of these also go into, there are things that you will put into consideration. Then, okay, like I mentioned earlier, work opportunities available post-graduation. That is obviously the reason why you are migrating anyways. So it's very important. Some countries have a lot of, there are a lot of countries that have a lot of, should I say, very easy, I don't want to say easy, but they look very easy to migrate to, I want to go and school in Cyprus. I want to go and school in Turkey. Okay, just bring your this. They're very easy. Like you can start the process today and start it tomorrow. But the truth of it is, more than half of the time, when you are done with that school, you have to actually find somewhere to go because there are no work opportunities there. Even the people there have not found job. So not to talk of you that you're going from somewhere else to go there. That's why you see that there is like a bracket of countries that people mostly migrate to. UK, not because they are not considering other countries, but because a lot of these countries have limited work opportunities. So you also have, cost of living, all of that is also part of it. And like I mentioned, very important. They need you to learn. They, unlike what's it called? They are not English-speaking countries. So they might know English as a second language, but most of their workplaces, they actually speak their languages. So Amsterdam, they speak Dutch, and Spanish, Spain, they speak Spanish and all of that. So you need to have a working knowledge of those languages. And a lot of time, we know, I'm sure a lot of us have been trying to learn French from primary school until now, we don't know it. Talk less of knowing, learning Dutch in 1 year and then going to apply for a job where you're going to be speaking it. You can imagine how difficult that would be. But obviously, all of this will still boil down to personal preferences and what you think you're capable of doing. Then also for tuition, just to give like a bit of range to it. For the UK, for tuition, you're looking at, for a master's degree now, you're looking at between 12,000 to, let's say between 12,000 pounds minimum. 12,000 pounds minimum. Yeah, that's how many million? That's going to be like about 10 million or more or something. Yeah, but that's the fees for the UK fee, and that's just school fees. That's like cost of attendance and all. For the US, you're looking, all of them are around the same range. US are also looking at $10,000 to $15,000. Canada also $10,000 to $15,000. But I always tell people that when you're going on things like this, don't let money be the first thing you're thinking of. If money is the first thing you're thinking of, you get very discouraged. and you will actually not get anything done. So, because a lot of these schools offer scholarships, especially if you have, I can't see you, but can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very clearly.
Okay. Okay. A lot of these schools offer scholarships. For example, you can, in fact, in the US especially, US is the scholarship hub. If you are actually keen on getting scholarships and you have a good undergraduate degree, you have good research papers and all, I would recommend the US for you totally. You can get fully funded masters, fully funded PhD. I know so many people that are recipients of that. So don't let the fees discourage you. Just start with gathering the little fees you need. That's, the processing cost, application fees, and the tuition owed. Let that be by the side for now. Just go ahead with the process and see. But for the UK gives scholarships, but they give more of what I call discounts. So UK universities are not as generous as US or Canada. They are not. So they mostly will probably just give you £3,000 discount, £5,000 discount. But the plus with them is that they allow you pay in installments. So there are even situations where you can pay as much as 9, 7 times. You can pay your fees as like 7, 8, 9 times while you work, while schooling. So don't get discouraged that, oh, where am I going to see 10 million at once? A lot of times they actually allow you to break it down and pay while you school. So that's also it. Okay, I'm trying. Where was I? Sorry. Okay. So then the last thing I said, social and environmental factors. Where a lot of us, what's it called? As cliche as it sounds, some of us can actually not withstand cold. That's just the truth. It sounds funny when people are saying it, oh, I don't want to go to this country because of cold, but it's the truth, because some of these countries, rather, the cold is not, Canada's cold is not UK's cold, for example. So some of these social factors, can I deal with the cold? Do I want to go to a country where I already have some sort of family members or where I have some friends? All of that would also come into consideration when deciding where you want to migrate to. So then generally, I would also just say that another thing that can make your immigration process easy is, I think you mentioned, you discussed upskilling yesterday. They can go hand in hand. Upskilling and immigration can go hand in hand. Because of the way the Nigerian schooling system is, we know that a lot of Nigerians went to the university to study things that would never be relevant to them. That's just the truth. A lot of BScs that Nigerians are walking around with would not produce any outcome. So the earlier you recognize that, the better for you. And the good thing is, in the early stages of your career, you can switch. A lot of these top countries, top organizations, it's not more about the degree, but more of what you can do. That's just the truth. It's more of what you can do. I resumed at my current job before they even asked me for my what I studied or whatever the name is. Like I had resumed before they even asked me to send my certificates to talk of whatever grade. It never came up in my interview, because it wasn't Nigerians that interviewed me. I'm sure if it was Nigerians, they would have asked. But that's how, should I say, unimportant it is to them. Do you know your work? Is this something you can do? Do you know your onions? So upskilling is important, because a lot of the things we studied in school as Nigerians, nobody's going to employ you. I'm sorry, but no, there is no job for you. That's just the truth. There's no opportunity. And it's also important for you to recognize that there are just some career paths that makes life easier for you. There are some career paths that just set you, they just make all the difference. That's why you see, when you see everybody running into tech today, it's not because tech is easy. It's not because tech is easy, but because people have recognized the power that it has and how much it can make a difference. But it doesn't also mean it's only tech. Even in the science field, research scientists, a lot of these they actually well recognized outside the country. So it's important. That's the first thing you may want to look at. Do I want to continue in this particular line that I am, or do I want to make a switch? So what are the things I'm going to be doing right now so that to make my migration journey easy? Another thing I wanted to also point out is that if you have a first-class degree, you can apply for PhD directly, and you would actually get it. If you have a first-class degree and it's not like a first-class degree that you just crammed your way, that you actually know it, you can get your PhD directly. And PhD in the US is mostly fully funded. And it's not also like Nigeria, it's not like Nigeria where when you do PhD, then you must remain in academics. People do PhD and then move to industry. You don't have to stay back in the academics. That's one of the, the perks of being in a developed country. So that's also another thing you can consider. So, but if you, what's it called? If your grade isn't that great, you may need to put in a lot of work to now start taking courses on the side. Something to just make it, to make your profile in total appear more, what do I call it now? More interesting. Okay, maybe interesting is the word I want to use. So I think that's it from my hand. I don't know if anybody has any question. That's just like, obviously you still have to go and do some reading or research on it, but that's like that's like a summary of the way I see the immigration pathway and all of that. So yeah, thank you. I don't know if anybody else has anything. If not,
thank you.
That's it from my end.
Thank you. So we'll be taking us. I can stop sharing, right?
Thank you. Yes, you can. Yes, you can.
All right. So that's fine. With my mouse. All right. So I don't know if anyone wants to ask a question. So we can quickly ask Madam Olubusola before she leaves. Okay, just quick one from my end. Considering the caliber of persons we have on the call this evening, most are, I think, maybe final year and some are in their service year currently. So you didn't talk about documents needed to process whatever school aside from school certificates.
Sorry, can I hear you?
Okay, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
I didn't hear you.
Can anyone hear me?
Yes, sorry, what did you say?
Can you hear me now? Am I audible enough? Oops.
So I guess it's your network. I can hear you.
Yeah, your network is very, very, very.
Okay, thank you.
So is it my network?
Yes, this thing is breaking. As you talk, your video is somehow breaking.
Well, I can hear you, Kenny.
Yeah, then maybe my network. That means not good.
Maybe you can repeat this question.
Okay, how about now? Okay, yeah, that's fine, Mr. Kenny. That's fine.
So that means asking, is saying that in terms of the profile of most of the attend meeting,
okay,
like who are fresh graduates. Some of us are fresh graduates. Some of us are some 1 or 2 years into post graduation, and then he wants to know what kind of documents do people need when they want to process, when they want to in the immediate process this whether be study, I think most likely study, or in the long term, let's say years time or something. So what do they need to start preparing now in terms of documents?
So are you saying for study? Just to be clear, are you saying for study?
Yes.
Study, right? Is that what you said?
Yes.
Okay. So the documents are not a lot. You just need, obviously the number one thing is you need when you have your your admission letter, you almost always get a visa. Once you have the admission letter from a reputable institution in that country, they would be the one to send you the admission letter, and there's another letter, there's something they call letter, I've forgotten, that you would take to the embassy with you. So they are already doing half of the work. So it's different from the typical visitors visa where you now have to go and be convincing them and all. Once you have your admission letter from the school, they will send you the admission letter and send you like a letter to the embassy. So you need your what's it called? Your grades, obviously. You will still need your proof of funds though. You still need to show that, okay, you can pay the tuition. So maybe you would need bank statements. You might need bank statements for up to 6 months with substantial balance, depending on what the tuition of the school is. And you would also obviously need at least the minimum installments from the school. So for example, you cannot be traveling to a school where they said the first installment is maybe £5,000 and you're not traveling with any money. They're going to ask you that, how do you intend to pay the fees? So you will obviously need at least the minimum balance required to actually go there. So you need proof of that. Then apart from that, you need your your transcript from your university. The official, the unofficial, the official one will be sent directly to the school, from your tertiary institution. It will be sent directly, but it's always good to have an unofficial one with you, that is just your own copy that you can go around with and fill tabs with. So the unofficial transcript, your grade, your university, what's it called now? Your university certificate, obviously. High school, yes, but that's not really the ones. When you are going for a master's degree and not graduate degree, well, not undergraduate, rather, high school results is not really, nobody really cares about that any longer. You're past that stage. Also, the NYSC it's a Nigerian thing, so nobody really cares about your NYSC certificate outside the country. The only thing you can reference for NYSC is that you can reference it as some sort of internship. So when you're trying to put up work experience, you don't necessarily have to put it in terms of NYSC. You can reference it as, okay, I intend in paid internship, intend in this post-graduation and all of that. So that's basically what you need, your degrees, your certificates, or any other certifications you have, basically put them together, your transcript, your proof of funds and all of that. So that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Once you have your admission letter, the work is already half done.
Okay. That's
because
good.
they write to the embassy. They have some sort of letter that they give you to the embassy already.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
So I can hear you.
All right. Also, another one I'm going to ask before I read the 2 questions I have here is, do you know on the medium at which one can get their international passports seamless, stress-free, because it's very annoying getting a Nigerian passport in Nigeria. I think I remember when I wanted to get mine, it was just through connection. I could use it, I could get it in 48 hours. So do you have
the
any?
Truth is, anybody I'm going to recommend to you, you will probably pay too much. That's the only way that's the only way it's going to be seamless. You have to pay. When I wanted to renew mine, I had to go all the way to the head office in Abuja. You will pay. The process has been made to frustrate you such that if you don't pay, you will not get it done. You will have to pay in excess. So if you feel like you have extra money to pay and all of that, obviously, after the call, I can just, I can talk to Kenny, or anybody can drop the contact of someone, but you would most likely have to pay for the service in quotes. That's the only, it's Nigerian. You won't get anything done until you do that, sadly. But I've heard though that it is easier in outside Lagos. Lagos is a mess. Lagos is a problem. So it's easier maybe in Ibadan or Osogbo somewhere. I heard it's actually easier to get your passport there if you know someone. Lagos is a problem. Yeah, it's a problem.
Okay, so a question from the chat room. Afolabi is saying, thank you very much for this wonderful presentation. My question goes thus. I need you to shed more light on relocation of one spouse. If one party is going to study and the other is going to work, will UK or US allow the couple relocate same time, or one has to go first? I need clarification on this.
Okay. So for the UK, right? If you're applying for your UK student visa, what do they even call it? student visa. I've forgotten the name, but for US it's called F1. For UK, let me start with the UK. If you're applying to, you can, at the same time you're applying, they would ask you, do you have, in the application form, you would see, do you have dependents? Do you have spouses? Are they going with you? It's there on the application form. You put your responses. So you can apply at the same time you are applying for your visa. For the UK, you can do it together. It's allowed, it's a legal process. And your spouse can work. In the UK, your spouse can work while you school. Your spouse can, I think your spouse can actually work full time while you school. But they can only work for the period that your school is in session. The minute you graduate, until you convert to another type of working visa, they won't be able to work again. I don't know if that makes sense. So while they're on that student visa, they can work. Your spouse can work. But for the US, so the US, you can migrate, it's the same thing, you can migrate with your spouse, but your spouse cannot work. In the US, you're actually required to even show proof of the money that you will use to take care of them if you're migrating with your spouse. Yes, they don't, even you as a student cannot work outside campus. US is very stringent with their visa processes. They don't want anybody coming to their country to come and be a liability. So that's why most of the people that you see going to the US to study, they go first. They go first, their spouses remain. Then when they finish school and they convert from F1 visa to H1, that's from student visa to working visa, that is when you now see them applying for their spouses, because with that one, their spouses can now work. When they are on workers' permit, then the spouses can also now apply for workers' permit. But while you are going for it as a student in the US, your spouse cannot work, but they can go with you.
All right, that's fine. So Josephine is asking, what's the process of getting a permanent resident in Canada or USA?
Permanent residents in the USA, scrap that. There is nobody's giving you permanent residence in the USA. No, it's just scrap that. The only way to get into the USA is through study or a visa lottery. If you are not studying in the USA, or you are not marrying a citizen or something, USA is out of it. No, USA does not do immigration pathway. They are very, they don't want people, and they make it very clear. So, but for Canada, that's what I was saying earlier. Canada has some immigration pathways. They are currently the ones running a lot of it. They have federal skilled workers program. That one will be starting again in July, that's in 3 months' time. But if you are fresh out of school, you cannot get it. They require at least, so it's a point system. The federal skilled workers program is a point system. So you are required to have a particular point. So if you have your master's degree, your point will be higher than the person that has just bachelor's degree. Then if you have somebody there, maybe you have a family member there, your point will be higher. Also, if you can speak French, it makes your point higher. Or if you already have a job offer, it makes your point higher. So it is very, and with the way the system has become competitive, it is very difficult. In fact, it is almost impossible for a fresh graduate to just get permanent residence, except you are not the one applying, except it's your spouse that is applying and you are going along. But as a fresh graduate that is applying directly, you can't apply for permanent residence, because a core factor in it is the at least 3 years core work experience, not even internship, 3 years work experience that is full-time, not internship. So if you have that, then you can just go online, type Canada permanent residence program. There is Atlantic program residence, there is provincial nominees. There are quite a number of them, but work experience is very key, because they would even ask you for references from your workplace. They will ask your workplace to give a detail of the kind of job you were doing for them. That's part of the information that is required. They will tell them you need signature of your previous boss, your HR. So it's a core component. You can't escape it. That's why the best part for fresh graduates or first year, second year in the workforce is study. That's just the best part. Permanent residence is easier for people that are already midway. in the workforce. So yeah, that's it.
Just to be sure, what's the year of experience like for the permanent resident? How many years of
At least
experience? Minimum 3 years.
at least full time, not internship, not including internship or anything. At least 3 years.
Okay, so I think the last question in the chat room is, what's the chance of HND graduates when it comes to foreign scholarship, given the fact that there is this disparity between HND and BSc in Nigeria?
Yeah, so for HND, I don't know the peculiarities for particular schools, but HND, this with the way HND is, I would advise that you go online and actually reach out to admission directors. You look for schools. So there's no one size fits all when it comes to that. Some schools accept HND. What they would ask you to do is to do West evaluation. Exactly. To convert, they will ask you to evaluate it. If you evaluate it and it comes back as a BSc equivalent, you are good to go. So you can even start with that. You can actually start with an evaluation. Go ahead and evaluate it with West. And anytime you are submitting application for school, you submit it alongside that West evaluation so that they can already see that an HND is the equivalent of a BSc. So if any school now has maybe particular reservations, then you can reach out to them. So it's the best thing to do is to first of all go ahead and do an evaluation. An evaluation, West evaluation would already show that, okay, it's the same thing as a BSc, just in a different system, so to speak.
All right, so I have many questions dropping in, and we have used past our time actually, because the next speaker is actually on the call. I saw her on route, now she's home and she's still there. I have like 3 questions from here. So somebody is asking that they will be needing the contact for the international passport, that you should please drop it. So another question is
Kenny would do that, but no problem, we can go ahead.
All right, so another question.
The international passport connect is in Lagos though. I hope the person is in Lagos.
Yes, I think the person asking is in Lagos. I know the person.
Okay.
So another question is IELTS exam also compulsory for persons who intend to study in UK? And another question is, can a study visa be converted to permanent visa after schooling, say for master's or PhD?
Okay, so the first one, IELTS for UK compulsory. You cannot avoid it. You need IELTS for schooling in the UK. Even to work in the UK, they will ask you for IELTS. Wow. Yes, even if you are going for work, there are 2 types of IELTS. There's the academic, there's the professional. Wow. Anything you are going to do in the UK, you need IELTS. They don't believe anybody else can speak English apart from them. So yeah, actually, that's the sad truth. They think they're the only ones that can speak English. There's no conviction you can do. They're not going to listen to you. So then for the other one that, so I would say, it's not convert to permanent. Permanent resident is a big deal. So let me tell you how it works. Let me use the US, for example. If you get into the US to study, right? I get a US visa today to study, F1 visa. I go to the US to study for a 2 years course. So that visa is called F1 visa. At the end of my study, of my 2-year study, I automatically am entitled to, is it 1 year? Yes, I'm entitled to 1 year automatic postgraduate work permit, 1 year work permit, okay, automatically. So what happens is that 1 year automatic work permit that they've given me, I am required to use that 1 year maximum period to get a job.
Okay.
So I will get a job where the employer would now file for me to get what they call H1B visa. That is the work visa. So the work visa typically is maybe 3 years to 5 years. That's how they give it. So within that 1 year they've given you that is automatic postgraduate work permit, you are required to use it to get. That's why I said marketability of course is important, because if that 1 year passes by and you don't get a job that is reputable enough for an employer to file for you, you will have to come back to your country. Yes, that's how it works. So you need to actually get a job that the employer will be able to file for you within that year for you to be able to remain. So they will now give you the work permit. So that's how it works. So you keep a lot of people in the US are on work permit, but work permit is almost the same thing as permanent. They don't just give permanent. It's Canada that just gives permanent residence. US, UK don't just give permanent residence. They give work permit. Then over time, maybe in the next 7-8 years, you would now apply for your permanent residence. After having worked there between 5, 7, 8 years, then you go ahead and apply for permanent residence. So it's not automatic to become permanent resident. The UK now, UK gives 2 years automatic postgraduate work permits. UK zone is 2 years. US zone is 1 year. Canada zone is 2 years, I think. Yeah, Canada zone 2 is 2 years. Netherlands, a lot of those countries, 1 year, 18 months, like that. That's what they give. So within that period, they are expected to find a job. If you don't find a job within that period and it expires, then they would ask you to leave. So that's how it works.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. Okay, does IELTS exam not necessary in USA? I think that's another question.
It's rare. Most of the time, if you studied in an English-speaking university and your transcript would already say that the mode of instruction is English, most US universities are okay with that. Trust me, they have other things that will stress you apart from English. US full application it's more tedious than the UK. So they have other things that wait for you. Not even English is the least of your problem. So they don't really ask for it.
So
they mostly ask for, sorry to interrupt, they mostly ask for what they call GRE exams. So GRE exam, yeah, they mostly those exams make it easier for you to get scholarships or things like that. So they are more GRE exam than IELTS. So IELTS is very easy though.
Okay, so quick one is I think some school requires that you collect is it certificate of proficiency in English. UK doesn't require that they still insist on getting the IELTS.
Certificate of proficiency is something that you collect. What's it called? It's supposed to be an alternative to IELTS, so you don't require both. So because most UK universities, or almost all of them, want you to write IELTS, there's nothing they're doing with your certificate of proficiency. But the US can just ask your university to write a letter or give you a certificate of proficiency note, just to be sure. But if you are doing IELTS, there's no need for certificate of English proficiency. They're the same thing, basically. They are both trying to prove one point, that you can speak English.
Okay, yeah. Mrs. Busola, I don't think we'll keep on taking questions. Another one just dropped. Please, can you you drop your LinkedIn profile so anybody that has future questions can
no problem.
Can just reach out to you personally. But meanwhile, the question here is, are there recommended sites to take IELTS test on?
I don't know one personally, but if you go to YouTube, there are a lot of free resources. There are so many free resources, videos and everything that you can use to take. But IELTS is not your starting point, though. Please, don't just jump in and go and start doing it. No, honestly though, it's very important to know that's not your starting point. You need to first of all research, know where you are trying to go to. So don't just go and start reading for IELTS where you don't even already know a direction of where you're going. You are doing the wrong thing at the right time. So find out what you want to do, establish a path towards it, then you start the process. Don't just go and start reading blindly for IELTS. So please.
All right, thank you so much.
You can go online. YouTube has a lot of free resources for IELTS. Thank you. Thank you very so much for having me.
In the meantime, we'll be expecting you to drop your LinkedIn profile, your Instagram page as well, so that persons who have further questions can reach out to you. So everyone, we've come to the end of our first session for tonight's tag, What If I Want to Japa? And I hope everybody here has gotten one or two keynotes to work on and start making plans for their Japan movements.